The top stories tonight in Y News. The Department of Health says the Philippines is more prepared to handle COVID-19 cases a year after the pandemic started.
The Philippines to continue use of AstraZeneca vaccines even after some countries temporarily halted its use over blood clot reports.
The Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology has recorded 51 volcanic earthquakes in a 24-hour monitoring of the volcano. Senator Bongo says he might consider running for president in the 2022 elections if President Duterte would be his running mate.
Netflix is trialing a crackdown on password sharing.
And NASA releases sounds of laser zapping rocks on Mars. Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Friday, March 12, 2021. I am Harleen Delgado.
Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the country and in other parts of the world. I'm Angelo Castro III.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website, untvweb.com. I am William Thiel.
First in the news. The Department of Health, or DOH, reported 4,578 new COVID-19 cases today, bringing the country's cumulative total to 611,618. The number of reported cases is the highest in a single day since September 14, 2020, when 4,699 cases were recorded. The DOH said of the total cases, 52,012 are active. Majority, or 92.2% of the active cases have mild symptoms. 4.1% have no symptoms. 1.5% are in critical condition, 1.5% are severe cases, and 0.71% are in moderate condition. It was also reported that 87 more patients died, bringing the death toll to 12,694. Also, there were 272 additional patients who recovered from the viral illness, pushing the total number of survivors to 546,912. The DOH, meanwhile, reported that 56% of the total 1,900 intensive care unit beds are still available. Also unoccupied are 63% of the 13,500 isolation beds and 72% of the 6,000 ward beds dedicated for COVID-19 patients. A year after the World Health Organization declared the novel coronavirus a pandemic, the Department of Health says the country is more prepared to handle the public health crisis amid the surge of new infections in the country. Aiko Miguel explains why.
It was difficult then for the Department of Health when the COVID-19 pandemic hit the country. Looking back, the DOH says there has been a great improvement when it comes to the country's strategies in response to the public health crisis. According to Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere, the healthcare workers are now more trained when it comes to case management.
We have improved so much, no? Ngayon, mas wide na yung array or options for doctors to manage cases. Pangatlo, nakikita natin na ang ating mga healthcare workers, mas sanay na sila at gamay na sila how to handle our COVID-19 cases. No? So if you would notice, we have maintained the case fatality rate to just 2% or a little above 2%, pero hindi naman tumataas ng husto.
It was mid last year when the health system capacity of the country was almost full. Aside from increasing cases, medical frontliners were tired, which prompted them to call for a timeout. According to Undersecretary Vergere, the country is now more prepared as there are more ICU beds, isolation beds, ward beds, and ventilators for COVID-19 cases.
Nakita natin yung allocation ng beds. na dati ay I think parang ang konti lang ng beds na ina-allocate, but we were able to ensure that all hospitals, both public and private, were able to allocate beds appropriately according to the standards. Kaya nga mas marami tayo ngayon na reserve para makapag-accommodate ng mas maraming pasyente.
Bed allocation in temporary treatment and monitoring facilities have increased compared last year. One hospital command has been established, which assigns whether a patient has to be sent to a hospital or should just be brought to an isolation or quarantine facility. Before, only the Research Institute for Tropical Medicine, or RITM, is the only testing laboratory that we have. But now, according to the DOH, there are already more than 200 licensed testing laboratories nationwide.
Looking at all of this, we can say that we have prepared our health system. Although hindi naman natin sinasabing perfecto na, pero looking at that after 1 year, I think we are now more prepared to handle and manage cases of COVID-19.
The DOH calls on the public to cooperate and observe health protocols to avoid getting infected while waiting for vaccines to be protected against COVID-19. This way, the DOH says the health system will not reach its full capacity, especially with the existence of COVID-19 variants. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
As the country will mark its first year on the implementation of quarantine protocols on Monday, the government still plans to enforce the minimum health protocols to the public. Malacanang insists that the COVID-19 pandemic has been well managed in the country. Rosalie Cos reports why.
The Philippines is one of the most affected countries by COVID-19 in Southeast Asia. This is 1 year after the World Health Organization declared the novel coronavirus as a pandemic. Among 11 countries in the region, the Philippines is the second highest in terms of COVID-19 cases and deaths next to Indonesia. In terms of economic impact, the country suffered 9.5% full-year contraction in 2020, the worst ever recorded since 1946. The Philippines is one of those countries which implemented nationwide lockdown in Southeast Asia, and until now, the entire country is under community quarantine. Because of this, the government is eyeing to further reopen the economy and gradually lift the coronavirus restrictions to address poverty and hunger. However, this has been hindered by the faster transmission of COVID-19 in the last few days as the government rolls out its COVID-19 vaccination program. Now, the government will intensify the implementation of the minimum health protocols to address the daily new COVID-19 cases.
Inaprubahan po ng ITF ang mga rekomendasyon ng Department of Health na palakasin at pagpapatupad ng mga sumusunod na minimum health public health protocols. Yung mga individual, patuloy po ang mask, shield, hugas at iwas. At kinakailangan din ang pagpatuloy ng pagbigay ng tamang impormasyon ukol sa COVID-19.
The local government units will penalize those who will violate the minimum health standards. Police visibility will also be intensified, especially in areas of concern. The palace has been insisting the government is able to well manage the COVID-19 situation in the country by strengthening the healthcare capacity. It adds, we are able to prevent high number of COVID-19 cases and deaths.
We have managed the crisis very well. We have limited the total number of cases to the point na number 30 lang po tayo in terms of total cases. And the most important, of course, is we have limited yung ating deaths to 2.09 of all those na nakakasakit.
However, the palace official admits contact tracing efforts remain a challenge for the government. Hence, the use of contact tracing app StaySafe.ph will be fully implemented in the next 10 days. The end user will be the Department of the Interior and Local Government or DILG. All the problems with the application's use have been finally ironed out, Roque adds.
Para po magbigay linaw, ipatutupad po talaga ang StaySafe.ph. So yan po ang pinagkaisahang desisyon ng IATF. Patutupad po natin ang StaySafe.ph na ang end user na po ngayon ay DILG dahil sila naman po ang in charge sa contact tracing.
The Philippines targets to further reopen the economy in April. And if the bulk of vaccine supplies will arrive in the country, the government is hoping to vaccinate 50 million of the adult population before 2021 ends. Rosa Licoz, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, 5 barangays in Mandaluyong City are placed under granular lockdown after recording high number of COVID-19 cases. Janice Inhente reports why.
3 communities in Block 41 Barangay Addition Hills in Mandaluyong City were placed under granular lockdown last night after recording 8 COVID-19 cases. This is to give way for local government's contact tracing and swab testing. Essential workers and residents with quarantine passes are allowed to go out of their homes for 7 days.
Mga bata talaga, bata na yun nga, yung nagiging rason yung pagtambay nila dahil idinadahilan na nagwa-wifi daw. Kung hindi sila makikipag-cooperate sa amin, higher possibility po na talagang mag-spread yung virus within the community.
But aside from these areas, 5 more barangays are now being monitored for a possible lockdown. The LGU has seen an increase in COVID-19 infections in the barangays of Holo, Ilaya, Highway Hills, Wakwak, and Plainview. Most of the cases reported were from condominiums.
Tumataas are the condos. Pero ang problema mo sa condominium, sa isang floor, lumalabas lang siya isang case. So, iba-ibang building. Kaya hindi namin ma-lockdown yung building o yung buong floor. So, mahirap para sa kanila. Yun ang tinitignan natin ngayon.
As a result, the local government has prohibited the use of amenities in condos, such as the gyms, swimming pools, and garden parks.
Hindi muna namin pinapagamit. Huwag muna nilang palabasin ang mga bata. Maghigpit muna sila sa mga bisita. To encourage them to at least recommend to us not just the minimum but the maximum health protocol na pwede nilang ipatupad doon sa kanilang mga condominium.
As of yesterday, Mandaluyong City has registered 396 active cases of COVID-19. The authorities continue to remind the public that even though there is a vaccine, the health protocols must still be followed to prevent the spread of COVID-19 infections. Janice Inhente, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Metro Manila mayors have agreed to implement a unified curfew from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. for 2 weeks starting Monday. Asher Cadapan Jr. reports.
The Metro Manila Council hopes to get a better data on the COVID-19 cases within 2 weeks upon the implementation of the new unified curfew hours in the National Capital Region effective Monday, March 15. The curfew will start at 10 p.m. until 5 a.m. of the following day, which will also be implemented in 14 days.
Bakit 2 linggo? Dahil ang buhay ng virus ay mga 2 linggo, makikita mo na. Kung ito'y may improvement, maaaring tanggalin na po ito. No? Sapagkat sa mga kaso nga sinabi kanina, ay talagang nakakaalarma.
The curfew hours will still allow essential workers to go outside of their residence for work purposes, where they will only be required to present their employment identification.
Sabihin po nito ay may mga grupo-grupong impeksyon sa bawat lugar, bawat bahay, bawat kalye. Pwede po itong ipasarado maski ang isang barangay ng isang alkalde. No? So this will be coordinated. Hindi lang isang lungsod o hindi buong lungsod ng buong Kalakang, Maynila.
Aside from extended curfew hours, the local government units in the region will intensify their efforts in contact tracing, testing, and quarantine against COVID-19. Granular lockdown may also be implemented to more specific areas in different LGUs to control the further spread of the disease. The Metro Manila mayors, however, have yet to implement anew the utilization of quarantine pass in city borders.
Alam po naman natin yung quarantine pass nung ating pong pina-implement po yan nung pong mga mid-last year ng August nung atay ECQ, talaga pong naapektuhan po yung ating economy.
The MMC appeals to the public to cooperate by adhering to the minimum health and safety protocols in and out of their residence. Asher Cadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
For those watching our 24/7 live streaming on YouTube, please click the subscribe button you see on your screen and ring the bell for notification. You may also follow us on Facebook.
Customers of Manila Water Company Incorporated will have to shell out more money to pay for the higher water bills, while those of Maynilad Water Services Incorporated will expect lower bills in the second quarter of 2021. Ray Pelayo explains why.
An increase of 5 centavos per cubic meter for Manila Water and a decrease of 1 centavo per cubic meter for Maynilad will be adjusted to customers on their monthly bill starting April 1. This announcement comes after the Metropolitan Water Works and Sewerage System or MWSS Board of Trustees has approved the recommendation of the Regulatory Office to implement the 2021 second quarter Foreign Currency Differential Adjustment or FCDA. Manila Water customers consuming 10 cubic meters or less per month will have an increase of 27 centavos per month, while those consuming an average of 20 cubic meters would have an upward adjustment of 60 centavos per month. In addition, customers using 30 cubic meters can expect an increase of 1.22 pesos per month. Meanwhile, customers of Maynilad consuming 10 cubic meters or less per month will have a rollback of 8 centavos per month, while those consuming 20 cubic meters will see a 10 centavo decrease per month. In addition, Maynilad customers consuming 30 cubic meters per month can expect a 20 centavo reduction per month. The MWSS attributed the mixed movement in rate adjustments to the fluctuations in foreign currencies. Meanwhile, the National Water Resources Board assures the public of enough water supply until the onset of the rainy season, but the agency still appeals to the public to conserve water. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The PNP Internal Affairs Service is set to give a recommendation into the misencounter between the operatives of the Philippine National Police and the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency. Lea Ilagan reports.
The PNP Internal Affairs Service investigation into the February 24 misencounter between the QCPD DSOU personnel and PDEA agents will soon be finished. IAS Inspector General Alfigar Triambulo says they are just waiting for some documents coming from the QCPD. The probe focused on the legitimacy of the operation and on the possible violation of the police operational procedure.
Kami po ay hindi naghihimasok sa investigasyon ng NBI para kung sino yung at fault doon sa pagkamatay doon sa mga tauhan sa gobyerno sa Quezon City. We just limit sa rules of engagement.
A recommendation based on the result of the PNP-IAS investigation is soon to be released to avoid the same mistakes in the future police operations.
Kung may mga dapat babaguhin dito sa mga existing rules na which governing the conduct of operation para maiwasan na po yung mga pangyayari ng ganon kung saan ay sayang po yung mga mismo ng tauhan sa gobyerno ay namamatay sa mga lapses sa pagkandak ng police operation.
Following the incident, the PNP and PDEA created a joint board of inquiry to investigate the gunfight. The NBI also conducted a separate parallel investigation. The misencounter resulted in the death of 2 policemen, 1 PDEA agent and 1 PDEA informant. Lea Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The Department of Agriculture is prepared to submit its position on the proposed state of emergency due to African swine fever, but the palace seems cold to accepting the proposal. Nonetheless, the department continues in providing aid on the affected hog raisers. Marvin Calas will tell us why.
The Department of Agriculture have finalized its supposed recommendation on the proposed declaration of state of emergency amidst the continuing crisis on African swine fever. DA is expected to submit its recommendation any day from now.
We are finalizing our recommendation base dun sa rekomendasyon ng galing po sa Senado. So anytime this week, we will be sending our position and recommendation to the palace.
Although Malacanang is open for recommendations, the President still has not decided.
Sa ngayon po, ang solusyon nga is yung repopulation at naglaan naman po tayo ng sapat na halaga dyan at bukod population, yung pagpasok po ng bakuna at syempre yung pag-aangkat po hindi ng baboy sa iba't ibang parte ng Pilipinas at soon po sa iba't ibang parte ng daigdig. So, but point well taken, we welcome the suggestion, it will be considered, but it has not been decided upon by the President.
To help the affected hog industry, the DA allocated 2.6 billion pesos budget for its control, containment, and repopulation project. 1.1 billion pesos is devoted for its repopulation. 500 million is reserved on loans for backyard hog raisers. 400 million for establishing breeder farms, 200 million for the repopulation on ASF affected areas, while 1.5 billion pesos is provided for Bantay ASF control and containment. DA also allocated to the bank 27 billion pesos in addition to funding 22% insurance for commercial hog raisers.
We have secured from Land Bank 15 billion pesos, 12 billion pesos from DBP, so total of 27 billion as loan program to reinvigorate the hog industry. At concessional rates, so mababa yung interest rates, not like the commercial rates that we had before. So these are the initial support that government will do. Of course, kung tatanungin mo, is this enough? Of course, this is not enough.
Meanwhile, based on the DA's monitoring on ASF positive incidents on barangay levels, from 1,773 cases on August last year, it significantly dropped to 358 cases on January this year, and even went lower to 62 incidents this month. It can be recalled that Philippines became the world's 7th biggest pork importer before the country recorded its first African swine fever outbreak on September of 2019. Marvin Calas, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Taal volcano has emitted steam from its main crater, as seen by residents and recorded by PHIVOLCS. Authorities continue to remind residents around the volcano to remain alert. Here's why from Nina Armilio.
Residents near the Taal volcano were alarmed today as they saw steam coming out from the volcano. One of them, Romar Olazo, accounted he was at the lake when he noticed the steam rising from the volcano's main crater. He also took a video after noticing that several trees and plants in the area were dying. The steam lasted for about 5 minutes.
Nataranta yung ibang tao dito sa paligid. Yung iba naman hindi agad napansin. Walang reaksyon sa kanila dahil lang hindi agad nila nakita yung steam. Pero yung mga nakapansin dito sa may baybay ng dagat ay kinabahan.
Over the last 24 hours, the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology, or PHIVOLCS, recorded 51 volcanic earthquakes, including 23 volcanic tremors, which lasted for 2 to 6 minutes, and 1 hybrid earthquake. Alert Level 2 is still in place. PHIVOLCS continues to remind residents near the volcano island to remain alert in case there is a need to evacuate. The local government and the Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction Management Office continue to prepare for evacuation. Residents may seek shelter in the municipalities of Bawan and San Pascual, as well as in Batangas City when the Taal volcano erupts. In Batangas City, only about 6,500 evacuees will be accommodated in order to observe the minimum health standards, especially physical distancing. The Taal volcano island remains a danger zone, meaning going to the area is prohibited. Nina Armilio, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
After repeatedly saying that he is not interested in seeking the presidency in 2022, Senator Christopher Bongo says that he might consider running for the position if President Duterte will agree to be his vice president. Joe Anano tells us why.
President Rodrigo Duterte disclosed during a speech in Negros Oriental that his former top aide Senator Bongo wants to run for president in the May 2022 elections. Senator Go says that the president's remarks was just a joke.
Joke lang po yun ni Presidente. Siya lang po yung nanunukso, siya lang po yung nag-uudyok, no? At siya lang po yung nagtatawag sa akin. Sabi ko, nahiya nga ako. Sabi ko, Sir, boss, wag niyo po akong tawagin na presidente kasi I am not interested po to run for president.
However, the senator said he would agree to run for the position if the president will be his running mate.
Makapagbabago lang po ng isipan ko kung tumakbo po si Pangulong Duterte bilang vice presidente.
Senator Go reiterates that as of now, he is not yet interested to run in the highest position as he wanted to focus on doing public services as his term on being a senator is effective until 2025. He also appeals to the allies on the PDP Laban to seclude him in any discussions or plans on politics with regards to the upcoming national elections.
Sabi ko nga, huwag niyo muna ako isali. Kung wala na kayong makita, ako na lang po yung pinakahuli. Wala na kayong makitang Pilipino, ako na lang po yung pinakahuli. Mauna na po sila, wag niyo na po ako isali sa usapang politika. Sabi ko, wala pong away, ayoko pong makipag-away sa among PDP officials.
In 2018, it can be recalled that Go said he will not run for senator. But several days prior to the deadline, Senator Go went to COMELEC to file his candidacy, where he was accompanied by no less than President Duterte and then was elected as one of the senators of the Republic of the Philippines. Johanna, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The nationwide rollout of Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccines will continue in the Philippines despite reports of blood clotting in some people who received the shots. Aiko Miguel explains why.
The Food and Drug Administration and the Department of Health decided not to halt the use of AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccines in the country. This after several European countries have recently paused their vaccination campaign with COVID-19 vaccine AstraZeneca following reports of blood clots in people who received it. The DOH pointed out that the move was decided as a precautionary measure while the countries conduct a full investigation to determine causality between the vaccination and the reported adverse events following immunization.
The benefit would still outweigh the risk. So the recommendation of our experts, we continue on vaccinating because this will provide more benefit rather than us thinking of this risk na hindi pa naman talaga conclusive.
Meanwhile, the DOH also explains, although the expiry date of AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccines is set on May, it still can be used for inoculation. The second dose is set to be given 4 weeks after the first dose of vaccines. The schedule of inoculation has also been planned according to the DOH.
Wala pong bakunang dinevelop ngayon under the Emergency Use Authority all over the world na may mahabang expiry date. Kasi alam po ng mga manufacturers evolving yung ating sitwasyon at maaring kailangan nilang baguhin o kaya iayos itong mga bakunang inilagay nila dyan sa pinapagamit sa mga bansa. Kaya ganun lang ang expiry.
Based on DOH's report on March 10, there are 114,615 individuals who received the vaccines. More than 101,000 have been inoculated with CoronaVac, while over 12,000 are inoculated with AstraZeneca. According to the DOH, 978 have experienced adverse events following immunization, and 21 of these have experienced serious adverse events. The DOH says the public should not worry about these reports.
So tinitignan maigit, pinag-aaralan lahat-lahat ng nangyari na side effects na yan para masabi natin what would really be those events which are really caused by the vaccine, or would these events would just be the usual na adverse events at minor na hindi naman kailangan nating i-directly i-refer or i-relate sa bakunang meron tayo ngayon.
Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The National Bureau of Investigation, or NBI, filed multiple criminal charges against 11 people who were involved in the death of flight attendant Christine Dacera. Dante Amento tells us why live. Yes, Dante, good evening. Go ahead.
William, the National Bureau of Investigation, or NBI, has gathered evidence to charge 11 individuals involved in the death of flight attendant Christine Dacera. The NBI Death Investigation Division filed criminal charges such as violation of the Dangerous Drugs Act of 2002, perjury, obstruction of justice, reckless imprudence resulting to homicide. Was charged against room 2209 occupants Jan Pascual de la Serna, Jisrael Rapinan, Alain Chen, and Louis de Lima for recklessly neglect the condition of the victim that led to her death. Other respondents include Mark Anthony Rosales, Romel Galido, Gregorio Angelo Rafael de Guzman, Raymar Ingles, who are also from room 2209.
Kung ako nakikita ko ang aking kaibigan na nagsusuka, masakit ang ulo, ang gagawin ko siguro noon is number one, either bibigyan ko ng gamot or I would seek for immediate assistance.
Darwin Joseph Macalya, the only room 2207 occupant being charged, and lawyer attorney Neptali Maruto for giving false and fabricated information. Meanwhile, the NBI also filed falsification of official document complaint against Dr. Michael Sarmiento, who first conducted the autopsy on the victim's body for allegedly declaring untruthful findings in his report.
Doon sa findings ng PNP, sabi nila merong abrasion sa labia, and we could not prove that. And sabi rin nila na empty yung urinary tract. We were able to prove this was properly documented, that we were able to extract 130 milliliters of urine.
The NBI ruled out the rape with homicide case for lack of evidence to prove its probable cause.
We cannot prove the fact of rape. We cannot do a charge when we cannot prove this either at the level of the prosecution or more so with the courts.
The NBI forensic examination allegedly supports that aortic aneurysm was the cause of Christine Dacera's death. Meanwhile, lawyers of the complainant Sharon Dacera said they are satisfied with the NBI's probe and the case filed.
Yes, we're satisfied. Kasi this only proves na what the family is fighting for, hindi siya baseless, di ba? There was a crime.
William Attorney Jose Leda III, one of Sharon Dacera's lawyers, says it only proves that there was really a crime and there are liable people behind it. And that's the latest live. Back to you, William.
Yes, thank you, Dante Amento, reporting live.
Senator Manny Pacquiao, who sits as the acting national president of ruling party PDP Laban, has cleared some issues concerning the party. This comes after a resolution signed by at least 18 members of the party came out in a bid to convince President Rodrigo Duterte to run for vice presidency in 2022. Pacquiao says he did not know about the resolution and that it is not authorized. According to the senator, this is not the time to talk about politics as the country is still facing a pandemic. The party's acting president has issued a directive to all the members to set aside politics and focus on helping people.
May naririnig kami na mga balita na may mga ilan na umikot at pinag-uusapan na yung politika. So ako nananawagan bilang acting president ng partido, nananawagan sa lahat na huwag muna politika. Tulong muna tayo.
Pacquiao also warned Energy Secretary Alfonso Cusi, who is the ruling party's vice chairman, not to poison and divide the minds of their members. This was after reports claim that Cusi has been doing rounds to gather support for the petition to urge President Duterte to run.
Yung salita mo, panindigan mo, huwag mong kainin yung salita mo. Nasabi mo, huwag mo ng politika, tulong muna sa tao. Huwag mong dinidivide yung isipan ng mga membro ng partido para gamitin mo sa sarili mong interest. Pero kung umiikot ka, politika ang pinag-uusapan mo, huwag mong ganyanin. Huwag mong lasunin ang mga utak ng mga membro ng partido para magkahiwa-hiwalay.
However, Pacquiao clarifies he is not mad at the secretary.
Hindi ako yung tao na pwede mo lang laruin. Warning lang to, hindi ako nagkikipag-away sa iyo. Kaibigan, gusto ko makipagkaibigan sa iyo.
Despite this, the leadership of the PDP Laban maintains there is no conflict within the ruling party. Based on a sourced message of Cusi to the members of the party, the secretary says it was the local leaders and not them who initiated the talks about the 2022 elections during their consultative meeting last Monday. He said that it was the leaders on the ground who gathered together and agreed to sign a resolution to support President Duterte as the party's vice presidential candidate in 2022, with the common sentiment of continuing the service of the chief executive. Cusi noted that he has no business compelling political leaders to put their names on a document. Lastly, the secretary reiterated his call to the party members to support the initiatives of the president in fighting the COVID-19 pandemic.
And for the news abroad, Prince William already spoke out about the bigotry accusations of Prince Harry and his wife Meghan against the royal family. This report will tell us why.
Prince William insisted that his family is not racist, making him the first British royal to speak out regarding the bigotry accusations made by Prince Harry and his wife Meghan Markle. The Duke of Cambridge used the opportunity to address the allegations that have rocked the monarchy during a visit to an East London school, saying that their family is not racist. William also addressed he has not spoken to his brother yet following the interview. This comes after the allegations made by Prince Harry and Meghan that the Duchess was a victim of racism and harsh treatments during her time as a working member of the family. Harry told Winfrey there was a space between the brothers, who had been close since the death of their mother, Princess Diana, in 1997, after reports of a rift since he married Meghan. Buckingham Palace previously said the claim was concerning, but it would be addressed privately. Harry and William's father, the Queen's oldest son and heir Prince Charles, has yet to comment on the controversy. Mariel Latoza, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
A group of 90 eminent scientists and health experts has called for the release of convicted child killer Kathleen Folbig in light of the new medical evidence which suggests her children may have died of natural causes. To give us the details from Australia, Marvi Delfin reports live. Yes, Marvi, good evening.
Marielle, Kathleen Folbig has remained in jail for nearly 18 years after being convicted of killing her 4 children by smothering them as infants during the 1990s. But she has always maintained her innocence, and the latest findings on genetic research might just prove that. This genetic evidence was not available at the time of Folbig's conviction in 2003, but scientists has published their analysis to back a petition they signed and submitted to New South Wales Governor Margaret Beazley for justice to be served. The chance that one family would be so unlucky as to lose 4 babies from natural causes is slim. This has become the basis of Australia's judges to resolutely reject the notion of reasonable doubt in Folbig's case and give greater weight to the circumstantial evidence presented at her trial and her ambiguous diary entries. But researchers pushing for Folbig's freedom said that in genetics, one-off events are commonplace. Scientific study shows that some of Folbig's children had genetic mutations that predisposed them to heart complications, and they argue that these mutations are what likely led to their deaths. An inquiry that began in 2018 heard that the genomes of the Folbig children were sequenced, and it was found that the two female children, Sarah and Laura, had a novel mutation in the COM2G114 gene, which controls how calcium is transported in and out of heart cells. According to Professor Carola Vinuesa, the COM2 gene encodes for calmodulin, a calcium-modified protein, and variants have been linked to sudden cardiac death. This aligns with Laura's signs of myocarditis at autopsy, while Caleb and Patrick's genomes showed a separate rare genetic variant in the BSN gene, which has been associated to early lethal epileptic fits in mice studies. Scientists acknowledge that from here, further research is needed. If Folbig is freed and her convictions are overturned, her ordeal will be seen as the worst miscarriage of justice in Australia's history. Marielle?
All right, Marvi, thank you for that report live from Australia. Netflix will now impose a new feature that warns non-subscribers to stop password sharing and pay for their own account. Early Briones will tell us why live. Yes, Early.
Yes, Marielle. Password sharing was never a big deal for Netflix, and using it gives access even to non-subscribers. But recent reports show that this may not last long anymore. Netflix is currently conducting a limited sample testing with some customers, which prompts a pop-up message for watchers outside of the household of subscribers to sign up for their own accounts. These can either choose to start a free initial trial or have a verification code sent to the registered phone number of the subscription account. According to a Netflix spokesperson, the test is designed to ensure authorization of Netflix accounts. It is reported from Magid research firm that around 33% of Netflix subscribers share their passwords with at least one person. This has never been an issue with Netflix, as stock prices steadily grow with increasing subscription. And as Netflix topped 200 million global subscribers in 2020 due to the pandemic, the company is still a bit worried that totally restricting password sharing may result in losing all these subscribers to new rising competitors. So, Marielle, so far, the trial will not lead to a formal crackdown on password sharing and will mainly be used for account security and authorization for now. All Netflix users can still continue using the entertainment platform. Marielle?
Thank you, Early, for that live report. NASA has released an audio recording of its Perseverance rover firing lasers on the Martian surface. Paul Gatchalian will give us the details live. Paul, why is it important for scientists to hear the sounds from Mars?
Well, Marielle, this audio recordings will be very useful for scientists to help determine the hardness of the rocks and also guide the Perseverance team in monitoring the rover and its various subsystems, and also help researchers better understand the thin carbon dioxide-dominated Martian atmosphere. In this case, the target was a rock called Maz, which scientists were able to discover was basaltic, meaning it contains a lot of magnesium and iron. Here's the recording of the laser fired by Perseverance rover in Mars. According to NASA's site, the laser is fired by Perseverance SuperCam and allows the rover to zap and study areas on a rock as small as a period at the end of this sentence from a distance of 20 feet away. Once the laser has fired at the rock, it uses its camera and spectrometer to analyze the hot gas the rock is vaporized into. Since its successful landing last month, Perseverance has sent back a variety of images and audio recording from the surface of Mars. All the images from the planet are nothing new. This is the first time a Mars rover has actually used a microphone from the surface of Mars. Marielle?
All right, Paul, thank you for that update. And those are the reasons behind the news here in Australia and in other parts of the globe. I am Maria Latoza, live from Perth, Australia. Good evening.
Researchers in Concordia University in Canada say that problematic internet use may result in depression among teens. Nina Armilio tells us why.
Most teenagers nowadays do not know life before the internet. They have grown up with practically the world in their palms through the www. But it's also noticeable that depression occurs at their age. Whereas time on the internet can be informative, instructive, or even enjoyable, plenty of studies have shown the potential harm caused by young children's problematic internet use, or PIU. Now, a research by Isban Tothkirali, a Horizon postdoctoral fellow at the Substantive Methodological Synergy Research Laboratory, and Alexander J.S. Morin, a professor of psychology both from Concordia's Department of Psychology, finds that adolescents who spend too much time online might be at risk of depressive symptoms, substance abuse, and poor grades. The team of researchers have identified 3 principal determinants of PIU among adolescents. The first was loneliness, defined as a lack of satisfying interpersonal relationships or the perceived inadequacy of social networks. Parenting practices, as perceived by teens, also predicted PIU. The researchers looked at both parental caring, such as the expressions of warmth, empathy, interest, and closeness towards the child, and parental neglect, defined as the uneven availability or unresponsiveness to the child's needs. And gender. The paper has found boys more likely to engage in PIU than girls, as they tend to be prone to more addictive-like behavior, are more impulsive, and may have more online options such as gaming or watching YouTube videos. Girls may be more likely to be online for socializing purposes. The paper also determined circular and harmful effects of PIU, depressive symptoms, higher levels of substance abuse, and lower levels of academic achievement. Time spent online tends to decrease as children mature and develop their own goals and boundaries. According to Tothkirali, being online for hours is not necessarily damaging. If adolescents spend a lot of time on the internet, but it doesn't really impact their mental health or their grades, or doesn't seem to have any substantial negative consequences, then we cannot really say this is problematic behavior, he adds. The research, published in the journal Child Development in January, examined the development of PIU in a sample of 1,750 adolescents aged 16 to 19 from Finland over a 3-year period. Nina Armilio, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
And those are the reasons behind the news, March 12, 2021. I am Harleen Delgado.
Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I'm Angelo Castro III.
Because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.